When I was 7 months pregnant, my identity as an undercover agent was exposed. The young master of the gang who had always doted on me knocked out my teeth with the butt of a gun, kicked and broke my ribs, and locked me up in a dark prison cell. I had a miscarriage in that dark cell. The young master of the gang took away the stillborn baby, and I never saw him again. 5 years later, a little girl climbed into the dark prison cell and said to me, "Mom, Dad is drunk. He's crying and saying he misses you." Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. 5 years ago, Damien beat me severely, carried away the stillborn baby I gave birth to, and I haven't seen him since. Day and night, I was locked in the darkness, with 4 walls and a chamber pot. Sometimes, when I was too lonely, I would even chat with a rat I caught for a long time. It's miracle that my spirit didn't break down in these 5 years. It's just that my body gradually became worse. I haven't been exposed to the sun for a long time. The environment is damp, and I've been eating spoiled food. Every part of my body aches. The little girl was the first living person to talk to me in 5 years. She said, "Mom, Dad is drunk. He's crying and saying he misses you." I couldn't understand. Why did she call me Mom? And who was her dad? I wanted to talk to her. I opened my mouth but found that after not speaking for so long, I had forgotten how to talk. In a hurry, I started coughing violently. A mouthful of blood spurted onto the girl's white dress. She was so scared that she ran away. Oh no, I've brought trouble upon myself again. Sometimes, when those people were in a bad mood, they would burst in and beat me up. Because 5 years ago, it was the information I provided to the police that caused them heavy losses. Many people died, and their strongholds were destroyed. The boss, Damien, had to flee overseas with me and some of his confidants. Afterward, when they investigated, they found out that I was an undercover agent. Since then, I've become a thorn in their side. They called me a traitor. I've never betrayed my beliefs. How could I be a traitor? Damien used all the means of torture he could think of on me. I begged him to kill me. He said he wanted to keep your miserable life, as long as you're alive. Ellis will come looking for you. Ellis, my husband. He's a police officer and also my teammate. His head is what Damien wants the most. Clang, clang. The iron door outside opened. Heavy and steady footsteps tapped on the stone pavement. Someone was coming. Listening to these footsteps, it didn't sound like who usually brought me food. I shrank into the corner, looking at the person approaching with fear. He was holding a wine bottle in his hand, and the strong smell of alcohol filled the small cell. He took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth. He lit the lighter. The light of the fire illuminated his face. His features were well defined, with a chiseled contour, and his wolf-like eyes sparkled with a cold light. After 5 years, I recognized him at a glance. My former lover, Damien, the boss of Crimson Rain. He leaned against the iron railing, smoking a cigarette. It was very quiet all around, with only the sound of the cigarette end glowing and dimming. "Ella, long time no see," he said in a deep and hoarse voice. I didn't say anything. I wasn't used to speaking anymore. "We're leaving," he continued on his own. "It's getting more and more unstable around here. We plan to fly far away. Anyway, we've already earned enough money, but they don't agree to take you with us and all demand that I kill you." "Kill me? It would be great if he killed me. I'm already living a life worse than death, but I hope you die with some value. So, before you die, you need to do something for me." He approached me, grabbed my chin, and forced me to look at him. The smell of alcohol blew on my face, and there was an overwhelming sense of oppression. "I need you to lure Ellis out." I was very calm, neither humble nor arrogant, without any sadness or joy. He was enraged. In a fit of anger, he slapped me. Suddenly, my nose bled profusely. He was taken aback for a moment. I didn't use much force. He really didn't use much force. This nosebleed wasn't caused by his slap. It was because of my illness. I felt that I was very ill. Death should be just around the corner. Anyway, I'm going to die. Why should I help Damien hurt my husband? Damien used the sleeve of his white shirt to wipe the blood off my face and pulled me into his arms. I struggled, but he held me tightly, with his chin resting on my head. "Ella, listen to me. Listen to me." His voice was alluring. "Did you see that little girl just now? Her name is Hannah. She's your child. The baby you gave birth to that year wasn't stillborn. She survived. If you help me deal with Ellis, I'll spare Hannah's life. If you don't cooperate, I'll make you jump into the sea with her in your arms." I stopped struggling. This was the first time I had been taken out of the dark prison cell in 5 years. The moment the sunlight shone on me, I was so scared that I shrieked and fled like a mouse. Damien caught me and dragged me into the villa. On the spacious sofa in the villa, there were several women with heavy makeup. Mr. Damien. They stood up to greet Damien. One of them even came up and kissed him, right in front of me. Damien was being affectionate with her. Gloria, take her upstairs to take a bath and tidy up, he said to the woman. The woman named Gloria gave me a disdainful look. Come with me, you bitch. Gloria and several other women spent the whole afternoon cleaning the dirt and fleas off my body. The hot water rushed over my emaciated body. My ribs were clearly visible one by one, and I looked like a mummy. After 5 years of wasting my life, Ella, the bright and charming policewoman in the past, had turned into a walking dead. Gloria combed my hair and said softly, "Don't have any wild thoughts. Mr. Damien is no longer the Mr. Damien he used to be. If you want to live one more day, be obedient. Gloria, you can go out." Damien appeared at the door. Gloria gave me a warning look and then left. Damien stood behind me and looked at me in the mirror. His slender and thin fingers stroked through my sideburns, neck, collarbone, and then reached into my collar, slowly moving down. I frowned slightly, and my disgust could no longer be hidden. His movement stopped. Suddenly, he grabbed my hair and forced me to tilt my head back. "Look at your current pathetic appearance. Even if you strip naked, no one would want to look at you," he said viciously. "Dad." A little girl's voice came from the door. Damien paused for a moment and let go of my hair. "Dad, you finally brought Mom out." The little girl ran over and looked at me carefully with her head tilted back. "Mom is so pretty, but she's too thin. Mom should eat more meat." I looked at her, and my eyes became wet. Is this my child? Is she really my child? "Hannah, how about Dad takes you and Mom out for steak tonight?" Damien said. "Great." Hannah jumped and laughed. I don't know how she grew up to be so innocent, lively, and lovely in this den of evil. All the way to the restaurant, she kept laughing and was interested in everything outside the car window. Damien spoke to her very gently, and there was no trace of his usual ferocity in his eyes and eyebrows. Looking at this, father and daughter, my thoughts went back more than 20 years ago. That year, I was also 5 years old. My father was a police officer. He often went on business trips and was away from home for more than 200 days a year. Every time he came back, I was extremely happy and pestered him with questions. That day was my 5th birthday. Mom and Dad said they would take me to McDonald's. I sat on the back seat of my father's bicycle, holding a pinwheel in my hand. The pinwheel spun and spun. The gears of fate also began to turn and turn. I only remember several intense, bang bang, sounds. I fell off my father's bicycle. In front of my eyes, there was a sea of blood. Mom and Dad fell in a pool of blood. I don't know how long it took, but an uncle ran over, picked me up, and covered my eyes. "Girl, it's okay. Don't be afraid." The uncle took me back to his home. At first, I didn't eat, didn't talk, and didn't cry. I was like a walking dead. There was an older brother in the uncle's house named Ellis. He talked to me every day, tried to make me happy, and played the game of cops and robbers with me. Later, we went to school together, did our homework together, took the senior high school entrance examination together, took the college entrance examination together, and got into the same police academy. After graduating from the police academy, we got into the same public security bureau and became criminal police officers together. We worked on many big cases together and shed blood and sweat together. One year, I got injured during a mission. Before I was pushed into the operating room, Ellis held my hand and cried, saying that he loved me. "Ella, you must stay alive. I want to marry you." We didn't date anyone else when we were at school, and after starting work, we tacitly didn't talk about marriage either. We knew that we were waiting for each other. After recovering from that injury, Ellis specially took a day off on Valentine's Day and took me to a temple to see the red plum blossoms. It had just snowed that day. The snow pressed on the red plum blossoms, and behind them were the upturned eaves of the temple. It was as beautiful as an ancient painting. Under the red plum tree, Ellis proposed to me. We hugged each other and swore to protect each other for the rest of our lives. When we were going down the mountain, a young man in a black suit passed by us. My heart skipped a beat. I grabbed Ellis and asked him in a low voice, "Do you think he looks like someone?" Ellis said, "I noticed it too. He looks like Damien." Damien, the eldest son of Gilbert. the boss of Crimson Rain. We had been investigating this gang for the past 2 years, but they were so secretive and left no traces that we couldn't find an opportunity to take action. And this Damien who came to us, how could I let him go so easily? I said to Ellis, "You go back first. I'll follow him and see what he's doing here." Ellis knew my temper. Once I made up my mind, he couldn't persuade me to change it. So he had to say, "I'll wait for you at the foot of the mountain. You must pay attention to your safety and never have direct contact with him." I followed Damien into the temple. I saw him kneel down in front of the Buddha statue, devoutly burn 3 sticks of incense, and murmur something. What? Did he want to put down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha? Impossible. Damien was the leader of Crimson Rain, with a ruthless hand, being cold and crazy. Such a devil wouldn't be accepted by the Buddha. After burning the incense, he stood up and left. I couldn't follow him anymore. So I also went to buy several sticks of incense and pretended to ask the monk casually, "That handsome guy just now, does he come here often?" The monk replied, "Yes. He comes here 2 or 3 times a month, but the time is not fixed." I had a bold idea. Get close to Damien and infiltrate the interior of Crimson Rain. Ellis strongly opposed it. I threatened him by saying that if he didn't let me do this mission, I wouldn't marry him, forcing him to agree. I said, "Brother Ellis, this is the last time. After getting rid of Crimson Rain, I won't be a criminal police officer anymore. I'll work at the service window, registering household registration books for people, and then marry you and have children." Okay. Ellis didn't say anything. He was still angry. I stayed at the temple for half a month and finally waited for Damien again. When he was burning incense, I stood not far away and watched him. After burning the incense, he stood up, turned around, and his sharp gaze shot straight at me. Our eyes met for a moment, and then he walked towards me. "Very well, woman. You've successfully attracted his attention. You seem to have been looking at me. Do we know each other?" He asked me loudly. "Can we get to know each other?" I said openly. "Why, you're very handsome." I must have blushed when I said this. Ridiculous. Damien turned his head away and left. After that, every time he came to burn incense, I would strike up a conversation with him. Finally, one day, he said, "Beauty, would you like me to treat you to a meal?" I became Damien's girlfriend. He took me to exclusive clubs and underground casinos. I secretly provided the important information I noticed to the police. The leader was very worried about my safety and asked me to leave as soon as possible. Damien was too dangerous. Damien was going to take me to an important event in 3 days, and there should be some valuable information to dig up. I promised the leader that after this mission, I would stop, as I had hoped. I got the crucial information. I witnessed the entire process of Damien's gun deal with a certain overseas criminal gang. After the deal was over, Damien was very happy and drank some wine. He looked at me, and there was a wild surge in his eyes. "You have a great figure." I had a bad feeling. We had been together for 2 months, and he hadn't touched me yet. He probably didn't trust me enough. But today, I accompanied him to participate in the most core mission, which meant he trusted me completely, and I had to prove my loyalty. He pulled me over, made me sit on his lap, and started unbuttoning my clothes. I held down his hand. His eyes narrowed. He picked up the gun on the table, pressed the muzzle against my forehead, and said, "Take them off." I wrapped myself tightly in my coat and walked in the light rain. Ellis kept calling me, 8 times in total. Finally, I answered the phone. "Brother Ellis, let's break up." I provided all the information about Crimson Rain and Damien to the organization, then submitted my resignation report and left. 7 months later, when Ellis found me, I was already heavily pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant. He hugged me. "Ella, Crimson Rain has been destroyed. You can rest assured. Marry me and let me take care of you for the rest of your life." We chose a restaurant in a neighboring county and held a simple wedding. The people attending the wedding were mainly relatives and friends of the Pong family, and Ellis's team leader officiated the wedding for us. The weather that day was not good. Dark clouds rolled in from the afternoon, and there was a violent storm in the evening. "Ellis, do you want to marry Ella as your wife? And from now on, love and protect her, no matter whether the future is good or bad, difficult or peaceful. Will you accompany her through it all?" "I do." My thoughts were pulled back from the distant past. Ellis was no longer by my side. Damien's car was still moving, and the scenery outside became more and more desolate. This didn't seem to be the place for eating steak. Finally, The car stopped in front of a dilapidated factory building. Damien asked his subordinate to watch over Hannah, and he took me into the factory building. "Before we eat steak, we have a little job to do," he said to me. "The police arrested my second brother. I agreed to exchange hostages and get him back with you." He turned on the walkie-talkie and ordered, "The snipers take their positions. Once the hostage exchange is over and the police are taking Ella away, open fire immediately and leave no one alive." He pulled my hair. "Tell me, will Ellis be the one to come and exchange the hostages? The Ellis you've been longing for?" I smiled. "You'd better not hope it's him. He'll make you pay dearly." My smile made him angry. His face showed a fierce look. "You damned traitor." Strange. How could I be a traitor? I have never betrayed my beliefs. 20 minutes later, the walkie-talkie reported, "Mr. Damien, they're here." Damien and his subordinates cocked their guns. The door of the factory building opened, and 3 people walked in. I knew the person in the middle. It was Damien's second brother, Harry. I looked at the other 2 people again and again, but I didn't recognize them. Judging from their demeanor, they should be my former colleagues. Damien squinted his eyes. "Where's Ellis? Why isn't Ellis here?" "Damien, we've brought the person you want," the plainclothes police officer opposite said. "Let's start the hostage exchange." I said I want Ellis to come here in person. "Are you fucking playing me?" Damien roared angrily, raised his pistol, and cocked it. For a moment, the situation was tense. "Damien." This was the first time I had spoken in 5 years. Keep Harry here and let those 2 police officers go." He gave me a cold glance. "Why?" "I'm not leaving. I'll stay with you." He ignored me. I slowly knelt down and pleaded, "Don't let me go. I want you and Hannah. The 3 of us. Let's fly far away." Okay. His icy face softened a little, and finally, he lowered his eyes and put down his gun. "Keep Harry here, and let the 2 police officers get lost." On the way back, Damien had a dark face and didn't say a word. Hannah also stopped making a fuss and played with her toys obediently. Her toy was a realistic-looking toy gun. When we got back to the villa, Damien said, "Gloria, take Hannah upstairs." Gloria came and led Hannah away. Damien turned around and slapped me. "You want to be Hannah's mother? You don't deserve it." He choked my neck. "If Ellis doesn't show up, I'll kill you. You little bitch sooner or later." I just smiled. Blood flowed out of my nose and into my mouth, staining my teeth red. I probably looked like a monster. Damien let go of his hand, and I fell to the ground. I was taken back to the cell again. The familiar darkness, the familiar dampness, the familiar stillness. I actually found a little sense of security. I curled up in the corner and stared blankly. After being locked up for 5 years, I learned to spend countless days and nights in a daze. When I was in a daze, the memories of the past floated, intertwined, overlapped, and tore apart in front of my eyes. Ellis, Damien, my biological parents, my adoptive parents, they all appeared in front of me, so real that I couldn't tell the difference between reality and illusion. Clang, clang, the iron door outside rang again. This wasn't the time for the meal to be delivered. Who was coming? The beam of a flashlight shone in. Behind the light, I could vaguely see that it was a pretty woman. It was Gloria. "Ella, come here." She waved at me. I got up and walked to the iron railing. She stuffed a plastic bag into my hand. "These are some painkillers. Maybe they can help relieve your pain." I didn't understand why she suddenly showed kindness to me. Before Gloria left, I asked her to leave the flashlight with me. I took out a photo from under the pillow. By the light of the flashlight, I looked at the person in the photo. This was the only photo he left me. He was wearing a handsome police uniform, with a good-looking face, bright eyes, and a sunny smile. "Brother Ellis, I haven't seen you for a long time." My thoughts went back to 5 years ago. At the wedding, the MC asked, "Ellis, do you want to marry Ella as your wife? And from now on, love and protect her, no matter whether the future is good or bad, difficult or peaceful. Will you accompany her through it all?" "I do." I only heard a slight whooshing sound, and a red dot appeared on the MC's forehead. The MC fell straight backward. I hadn't even realized what was going on when Ella suddenly stood in front of me and pushed me down. The glass in the restaurant shattered with a crash, and the guests screamed. Then I realized that there was a gun battle. "Ella, let's go. Hurry up." Ellis grabbed my hand and ran towards the kitchen. I looked back. Ellis's parents, who were also my adoptive parents, fell in a pool of blood, and more than a dozen of his relatives and friends became easy targets. Ellis opened the door from the kitchen to the basement. Ella, you go down from here. You can go around to the outside. I'll stay here and guard for you. Brother Ellis. Let's go together. I cried. He smiled bitterly and shook his head, turning his back to me. There were 2 gunshot wounds on his back. He took the bullets for me. I broke down. I pulled him into the basement and found a storage room. Brother Ellis. Don't worry. I'll stop the bleeding and take out the bullets for you. Hold on. Ellis couldn't speak anymore and kept spitting out blood. The blood choked back into his lungs, making it difficult for him to breathe, and his face turned purple. I couldn't do anything anymore. Nothing at all. God, don't take my Ellis away. Don't leave me with nothing. He didn't suffer for too long. About a minute later, he stopped breathing, and his pupils dilated. Those eyes that always looked at me tenderly became a murky and cold pool. I didn't have time to cry. I was in a daze. I only remembered covering his body with a cloth and locking the door of the storage room. I couldn't let Damien get his body. He would play with his head like a football. When I walked out of the kitchen, Damien's gun was pressed against my forehead. He hit my chin with the butt of the gun, knocking out 2 of my teeth. Then he punched me with the back of his hand, knocking me to the ground. He kicked me in the waist again, but I couldn't feel the pain. My heart was as good as dead, and there was only numbness left. So, Ellis died 5 years ago, and Damien didn't know about this. The police arrived quickly at that time. Damien didn't have time to search the scene, so he took me away. I guessed that the police were hiding Ellis's death and wanted to use Damien's desire for revenge to make him reveal his flaws. For example, this time, the hostage exchange in the name of Ellis was to trick Damien out so that they could arrest him. But Damien was too vigilant, coupled with the fact that he still had me as a hostage. The police ultimately didn't take action. When Mary came down to bring me food, I said, I want to see Mr. Damien. Mary looked at me suspiciously and left. A moment later, Damien came. He smelled of alcohol again. I remembered that he didn't used to like drinking. The only time he was drunk, he raped me. So, as soon as I smelled the alcohol, I had a bad feeling. He was irritable and emotional at this time and was likely to do something to hurt me. But every coin has 2 sides. When he was drunk, his judgment was impaired, and he was more likely to be emotional. What do you want from me? He asked coldly, with a look of weariness of life on his face. I walked up to him, gently and carefully, and hugged his waist, resting my head on his chest. I heard his breathing pause for a moment. Don't be angry with me anymore. Okay. He let me hug him and didn't break free. He asked me, what's the reason? What reason made you do a 180-degree turn and start begging for my forgiveness? Because I saw our daughter. I thought she was dead before, and I lost all hope. But when I saw her this time, she was so cute. I want to be a good mother to her and give her all my love. What about me? You. I said seriously. I will love you. Damien's expression softened. He hugged me, squeezing me even harder, as if he wanted to crush me into his body. Ella. It's been 5 years. I've been thinking about you all the time, and I've been hating you all the time. I really wanted to kill you, but if I really killed you, my life would seem to have no hope left. Very good. The fact that he was willing to confide in me meant that he was wavering, and I had a chance. I continued to press on. Then, take me and our daughter and fly far away. He didn't speak for a long time. His heart was beating strongly, and I didn't know what he was thinking deeply in his heart. Ella. You have some nerve to dream big. He changed the subject and choked my neck. In this life, it's impossible for us to make up. Why do you look so confused? Don't you know why? Do you want me to tell you again? He leaned close to my ear and said word by word, your beloved Officer Ellis killed my father, my eldest sister, my brother, and my niece. My whole family was destroyed by him, and he used the information you provided. Between you and me, there is a deep feud. If I forgive you, I'll be struck by lightning and sent to the 18th layer of hell. His tone was desolate and painful, and his full of hatred had nowhere to vent. He was right. There was indeed a deep feud between me and him. During the gun battle on the wedding night, Crimson Rain killed Ellis's relatives, who were also my relatives. Ellis died in my arms, and his blood soaked through my clothes. If it weren't for the hatred that supported me and made me want to live to see Damien punished, I wouldn't have wasted 5 years like a ghost. Damien said, the 2 of us used to love each other so much, but now we've come to this. I just feel like a complete failure. What's wrong? Ella, why do you have that expression? Do you dare to say you never loved me? I wanted to say, Damien, my parents were killed by your father Gilbert. How could I possibly fall in love with you? Damien, I did love you. I choked up. But later I found out that your father killed my father. I didn't know how to face this feeling. Damien closed his eyes helplessly, and 2 lines of tears streamed down his face. When he opened his eyes again, his gaze was sinister. He pushed me away. If it weren't for your betrayal, which caused my father to be killed by Ellis, how could we have ended up in this life or death situation? There was one thing I didn't understand. Damien said that his father was killed by Ellis, but Ellis was seriously injured at the wedding, and he didn't have a chance to fight back at all. I felt a headache. Everything was so confusing. My thoughts were all tangled up, and the truth was hidden in the fog. Suddenly, my stomach ached horribly. I covered my stomach and groaned in pain. Damien asked me what was wrong, and I spat out a mouthful of blood, spraying it on his face. I had taken all the painkillers Gloria gave me in advance, which led to severe gastric bleeding. Damien carried me out of the dark cell and rushed me to the medical room in the villa. The doctor examined my physical condition and shook his head. Mr. Damien, without a CT scan, we can only judge from the surface symptoms. Multiple organs in her body are failing, and there may be cancer, and it's in the terminal stage. She needs to be examined and treated immediately. Which hospital can treat her? I'll prepare the car right away. Damien was in a hurry. Mr. Damien, the doctor said, local hospitals can't treat such serious illnesses. Moreover, outside of Kerwin Prefecture, it's the territory of the police. It's better to send her to Europe for treatment. We can't delay any longer. Mr. Damien, weren't we going to fly far away? Gloria said from the side. Take her with us and get her treated in Europe. A trace of ferocity flashed in Damien's eyes. Then he smiled. Suddenly, he turned around and slapped Gloria hard. Who said I'm going to Europe? Do you think I'll take you with me? Bitch. What's this? He picked up a plastic bag, which was exactly the one Gloria had used to give me the painkillers. Mr. Damien. Gloria panicked and immediately knelt down. I just saw that she was in so much pain and felt sorry for her. You feel sorry for a traitor. Let's see if the traitor will feel sorry for you. Gloria looked at me, her eyes filled with despair. I had a blank expression and avoided her gaze. Drag her down and beat her, Damien ordered. Gloria's pleading cries grew fainter and fainter, and then suddenly stopped. The doctor prescribed the medicine and left. It was just me and Damien in the room. Damien stood by the window smoking. The warm yellow sunset shone on half of his face, creating a contrast of light and shadow. Do you want to come with me? He asked heavily. I was taken aback for a moment. I said, yes, but where are we going? You'll know when you get there. When are we leaving? 3 days later. He exhaled a puff of smoke. I still have some assets to deal with here. 3 days is quite pressing, I said cautiously, but I don't have a passport. I'm afraid I can't leave. You don't need a passport. He extinguished the cigarette but and turned to look at me. You better hold on. When we get there, I'll find the best hospital and the best doctor for you. Why? I asked him. Why do you still want to save me? He was silent. After thinking for a long time, he seemed to come up with a reason. Hannah can't grow up without a mother. Although you bitch, don't deserve to be her mother. His tone became fierce again. Anyway, I got the important information. Damien's gang planned to leave the country in 3 days. When he said that a passport wasn't needed, it meant that we wouldn't be leaving through the customs of a regular airport. I guessed that they were probably going to leave by private jet or ship. But Kerwin Prefecture was quite far from the port, so it was more likely that they would leave from a nearby airport. Mom. The sweet and milky voice pulled me out of my thoughts. Hannah was wearing a pink dress, with braided pigtails, standing at the door looking pretty and cute. I waved to her. Hannah, come here and let Mom give you a hug. She ran over and obediently nestled in my arms. Mom, don't make Dad angry anymore. If Dad isn't angry, I can stay with you all the time. Okay. Mom knows. I choked up a bit. Mom loves Dad, just like you love Dad. I hugged Hannah tightly. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Damien standing on the second floor, looking down at us. After standing there for a while, he left. I whispered to Hannah, can you do Mom a favor? Sure. How is your Aunt Gloria? She was beaten and is lying in bed. Go and bring Aunt Gloria some hot water. And by the way, tell Aunt Gloria that we will leave here by private jet in 3 days and ask her to get ready. Okay, I'll remember. She was about to leave, but I stopped her again. Hannah, This is a secret between us. Don't tell anyone. Okay. Not even Dad. Dad is still angry with Aunt Gloria. So don't let him know. At night, I was half asleep when I suddenly felt someone lying beside me and hugging me. There was a strong smell of alcohol. Ella, what should I do with you? He said hoarsely. Damien, I'm yours. You can do whatever you want with me. Ella, it's been 5 years since I last saw you. But there hasn't been a single day when I didn't hate you. And there hasn't been a single day when I didn't think about you. Damien, give me a chance to atone for my sins. For the rest of my life, I'll stay by your and Hannah's side. And be a good wife and a good mother. He didn't speak for a long time. His head was pressed against the back of my neck. Okay, I'll give you one last chance, he said. Suddenly, his hand choked my neck. Although he didn't use too much force, it still made it difficult for me to breathe. Then do you still think about Ellis? His tone suddenly turned cold. No, I've long forgotten what he looks like. In 5 years, he hasn't come to save me. He doesn't care about me at all. Cough. Damien, I can't breathe. Damien, let go. Okay, it's all right. Go to sleep. After a while, he fell into a deep sleep. But I was still scared. This man was even more moody than he was 5 years ago. 3 days later, it was the day Damien said we would leave. But the villa was unusually quiet, and there were no signs of anyone preparing to leave from top to bottom. I was a bit anxious. Finally, there was some movement until it got dark. Damien came to the bedroom and picked me up and carried me outside. Outside the villa, 5 Hummers were parked. Damien and I got into the middle car. Hannah was already sitting in the back seat, playing with her realistic toy gun. I asked Damien, "Are you sure it's okay for the child to play with a gun?" Damien said, "My daughter should be brave from a young age." Just then, Harry rushed over and knocked on the car window. Damien rolled down the window. "What's the matter?" "Gloria is missing. I haven't seen her all day," Damien said. "Leave her alone. Notify everyone and leave immediately." The motorcade drove out of the compound and moved forward at high speed. It was heading west. The further we drove, the more open it became. There were fewer trees and fewer buildings. I realized that there should be an airport here where small private jets could take off and land. If Damien left the country from here without anyone knowing, he could easily escape the control of the police. The motorcade stopped on an open area. I got out of the car and indeed saw a Gulfstream jet not far away. There were guards with machine guns around the plane. Damien picked up Hannah. "Baby, let's go. We're going to Italy." He took my hand and looked at me intently. "Ella, do you like Italy?" I smiled with my eyes closed. "I like it." He sighed. "I haven't seen you smile for a long time. Smile more often in the future. All the hardships are in the past." As soon as he finished speaking, Mary, who was walking in front of us, suddenly fell to the ground. The back of his head was a bloody mess. "The police. There are the police," Harry shouted desperately. Damien pulled me and Hannah and hid behind a Hummer. "You stay here and don't come out." He pulled out a gun from his waist and ran out. For a moment, gunshots rang out continuously. When I was in the dark cell, Gloria gave me a bag of painkillers. I didn't understand why she suddenly showed kindness to me. She looked around and lowered her voice. "Sister Ella, I'm Ellis's subordinate." The code phrase, "The red plum blossoms are in bloom." I was shocked. Then I was excited. "Are you here alone?" "It's too dangerous. You should leave quickly. I'm the only one here. But don't worry. I'm very cautious and won't show any weakness. What if something goes wrong? Look at me. Do you want to end up like me?" "Sister Ella, this isn't the time to talk about this. I need your help." Gloria said that the police had long been keeping an eye on this stronghold of crimson rain in Kerwin Prefecture. But Kerwin Prefecture was the territory of the local military, and Damien had a good relationship with the local military. So it was inconvenient for the police to come in and carry out the arrest. Damien is about to leave soon. We want to intercept and arrest him, but we don't know when he will leave, where he will leave from, or where he will go. Sister Ella, I want to ask you to help get this information out of Damien's mouth. How can I get the information? He hates me to the bone. Sister Ella, I've been undercover by Damien's side for 2 years. I know something about his feelings for you. As long as you make good use of his feelings, you can gain his trust. He definitely won't have the heart to kill you and will take you with him. We will rescue you. I got the information from Damien and asked Hannah to pass the message to Gloria. Based on this, the police inferred that Damien would leave from this airport and set up an ambush in advance. Justice has long arms. However, Damien had a large number of men, and they were all desperate outlaws with sophisticated weapons. There was also a mounted machine gun on one of the vehicles, so the police were temporarily suppressed. At this moment, I saw the realistic toy gun in Hannah's hand. "Hannah, lend Mom your gun. What are you going to do?" "Mom." I snatched the toy gun from her hand, stood up, and fired at Damien's back not far ahead. The plastic bullet shot out and hit the back of his head. He turned around, and I fired again, hitting his eye. His formation was disrupted, and he was exposed to the police's firepower. 2 bullets hit his chest instantly. He leaned against the Hummer, trembling, and took out a round black object from his pocket. The police were approaching. Damien looked at me and suddenly grinned. "Ella, I'm going to die with Ellis. Are you happy?" I thought he was really crazy. Suddenly, I realized what he was going to do. What he was holding in his hand was a bomb. He was going to die together with the police. The police were getting closer and closer. Among them, there was one person who looked familiar to me. Damien pulled the pin of the bomb and was about to throw it out. "No." I rushed up and hugged him tightly. He was seriously injured and couldn't break free from me, so he just laughed in my arms. "Ella, it's not bad for us to die together." Well, he was right. I didn't die with Ellis back then and had been living alone for so long just for this moment, to die together with Damien. At that moment, I seemed to see Ellis running towards me. "Brother Ellis, come and take me away. In the underworld, I'll still be your bride." The police officer and his wife lay in a pool of blood, and their 5-year-old daughter stood there. Gilbert blew on the muzzle of the gun. This gun had just shot and killed this police couple. He pointed the gun at the little girl. He was always cautious in his work and never left any survivors. Suddenly, he thought of his son Damien. He lacked a playmate and had always been lonely. Gilbert put away the gun, walked over, picked up the girl, and covered her eyes. "Girl, it's okay. Don't be afraid." Gilbert took the girl home. Damien ran over happily, stroking her head and rubbing his face against hers as if she were a little animal. "What's your name?" The girl wasn't timid either. "My name is Ella." "My name is Damien. From now on, you're my sister." Gilbert always thought that the girl had forgotten about her parents being killed due to excessive fear. She quickly adapted to the Ming family and got along well with Damien. They ate together, played together, went to school together, practiced shooting together, and learned how to kill together. When Damien was 25 years old, Gilbert handed over the leadership of Crimson Reign to him and retired behind the scenes. Damien was shrewd and capable, more ruthless and cruel than his father. He also had a capable assistant, Ella, who was 23 years old. These two were known as the male and female fiends. In the underworld, Damien had a habit of going to the temple to burn incense before every major operation. It was as if he could find peace of mind in this way. Every time he went up the mountain to burn incense, Ella accompanied him, but she never knelt and worshipped the Buddha. When he burned incense, she would stand by the cliff and enjoy the scenery. That day, during the season when the red plum blossoms were in bloom, she saw a man proposing to a woman under the plum tree. She had an excellent memory and recognized the man at a glance. His name was Ellis, and he was a police officer. When she was a child, his family and hers lived in the same compound and were neighbors. He was a chubby and handsome little boy, and all the little girls in the compound liked him, including Ella. However, she had never spoken to him. After her parents died, she was abducted by the gang and never saw Ellis again. Until a year ago, she found out that he had become a criminal police officer and was in charge of investigating the case of Crimson Reign. She inexplicably took an interest in him and began to observe him secretly. Once, she saw a report about a public security system meeting on the internet, and there was a photo of Ellis in it. She printed out the photo and hid it under her pillow. Of course, she couldn't let Damien know about this. Recently, Damien's attitude towards her had become more and more ambiguous, and there was always a fire burning in his eyes when he looked at her. She felt very uncomfortable. She had grown up with him since childhood, and to her, he was like an older brother. She had no other feelings for him, but it was obvious that he had other thoughts about her. He had always respected her wishes, but that day, after finishing a gun deal, he drank some wine and looked at her mistily, saying, "You have a great figure." He pressed the gun against her forehead. "Take them off." She pursed her lips stubbornly and didn't move. He laughed. "Are you remaining chaste for Ellis?" She was surprised. Why did he mention Ellis? "You observe him every day and put his photo under your pillow. Do you think I don't know?" That day, he hit her for the first time. He struck hard. After hitting her, he raped her. After raping her, he hit her again. In the end, her spleen ruptured, and she was sent to the hospital. Before being pushed into the operating room, Damien held her hand and cried, saying that he loved her. Ella, I'll take responsibility. I'll marry you. Ella slept for a long time. When she woke up, she ran away and hid. 7 months later, Damien found her in a remote village. She was heavily pregnant, already 7 months along. He hugged her. Ella, marry me. Let me take care of you for the rest of your life. She nodded numbly. The wedding couldn't be a grand affair. They chose a restaurant in the county town and held a simple wedding. The people attending the wedding were mainly relatives of the Ming family and the key figures of Crimson Reign. The weather that day was not good. Dark clouds rolled in from the afternoon, and there was a violent storm in the evening. Damien, do you want to marry Ella as your wife? And from now on, love and protect her, no matter whether the future is good or bad, difficult or peaceful. Will you accompany her through it all? I do. Then a fierce gun battle broke out. The powerful firepower of the police came like rolling thunder. Pushing forward, the members of the Ming family in Crimson Reign fought desperately but were all shot. Ella witnessed with her own eyes her adoptive father Gilbert fall into a pool of blood with his eyes wide open, just like her parents had done all those years ago. Damien pulled her and hid in the storage room. The reinforcements of Crimson Reign arrived later. Since the police didn't have enough manpower, they retreated. Damien survived the disaster. Afterward, the informant arranged by the police told Damien, on the day of the wedding, someone made an anonymous call to Ellis, telling him that the leaders of Crimson Reign would gather at a certain restaurant. Upon further investigation, it was found that the person who made the anonymous call was his newlywed wife, Ella. Damien went crazy. He beat her violently and tortured her to the brink of death. Traitor. Bitch. Traitor. The 7-month-old fetus was brutally beaten out. He grabbed the fetus by its legs and threw it into the trash can. But then he heard a faint cry, like a cat's meow. He pulled the baby out and choked its soft and tender neck. In the end, he let go of his hand. She was locked up in the dark cell, day after day, year after year. Such a situation made people go crazy and confused. Perhaps due to the brain's self-protection mechanism, her memory was rewritten in the direction she desired. She thought that she had been adopted by the kind Ellis family, and the person who grew up with her was Ellis, whom she had secretly loved since childhood. She thought that she had become a just police officer, not the second in command of a gang. She thought that the person Ellis proposed to under the red plum tree was her. She thought that she had been injured during a mission when she had the operation. She thought that she was an undercover agent by Damien's side. From then on, I became a thorn in their side. She thought that the person who made a vow with her at the wedding was Ellis. She thought that Ellis had died to protect her. She thought that she had never been a traitor. Only in this way, with the belief in justice and the memory of Ellis, could she barely hold on in the darkness and loneliness. However, everything was just a dream, a lie told to her by her brain. After the violent explosion, the airport was in a mess. Damien, the leader of Crimson Reign, and Ella were left with broken limbs. A head was blown to Ellis's feet. Although it was charred, Ellis still recognized that it was Ella's head. His knowledge of her was limited too. She was the orphan of a sacrificed police officer, the adopted daughter of Gilbert, the second in command of Crimson Reign, Damien's wife, and that she had been imprisoned for 5 years. He didn't even know that it was she who had called him to tip him off on the day of Damien's wedding. He also didn't know that this strange woman had regarded him as her belief and loved him for a very long time. Or perhaps, she loved her deceased police officer father. She loved her father's just cause, and she loved the normal life under the sun. But throughout her life, she was bound by the shackles of evil. Gloria knew all of this. When she was undercover by Damien's side, she went to the dark cell to see Ella. At that time, Ella happened to have an episode of hysteria and was delirious. And she told Gloria a lot. When Ella mentioned that Ellis had proposed to her under the red plum tree, she had a look of happiness on her face. Gloria frowned. She almost told her that the person Ellis proposed to under the red plum tree was her. Gloria. She wouldn't tell Ellis all of this. Never. Everything about Ella was gone in the explosion at this moment. Her life was insignificant. Looking at her messy body, Ellis just let out a soft sigh. At this moment, a little girl crawled out from under a car. She stared blankly at the remains of her parents. Her pitiful appearance was very much like that of 5-year-old Ella many years ago. Perhaps, another cycle had begun. The end.